Will come to order. Members will take their seats. I want to first thank our Sergeants at Arms, Gary Bridges, Tequila Cogdell, John Enlow, Dwight Green, Sherry Hedrick, Mike Norton. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your work. We have one bill on the calendar today. First, let's go ahead and just, Sergeant at Arms, will you go ahead and pass out the bill? Pass that out to the members. So what you should be getting is you'll have a copy of the congressional map along with the bill. There should be a stat pack attached to that, and then you also receive a copy of the criteria. Did they give you a copy? Does every member of the committee have a copy of the materials? All right, so the bill before the committee today will be Senate Bill 249. It's a proposed committee substitute. Do I have a motion that the committee consider the PCS? Senator Amy Galey, all in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed no. The ayes have it. The Senate Bill 249 is before the committee. Just for the schedule of today, we'll have Senator Heiss will explain the bill. Then, of course, we'll have member discussion, have the opportunity for members to present amendments if desired. And then when we've gone through that, we'll have time for public comment. We do have about, I think, 30 members of the public that have signed up to speak. And so once we see how much time we have remaining in the committee, we'll determine how much time each speaker will get to speak. And for those of you who maybe wished to speak publicly but weren't able to sign up because of the cutoff, then I would just remind the public that the portal is still open online for public comments to be submitted through there. So Senator Heiss, you are recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. The motivation behind this redraw is simple and singular. Draw a new map that will bring an additional Republican seat to the North Carolina congressional delegation. Republicans hold a razor-thin margin in the United States House of Representatives. And if Democrats flip 4 seats in the upcoming midterm elections, they will take control of the House and torpedo President Trump's agenda. This is a political arms race that Republicans did not start. Democrats controlled states across the country adopted far more aggressive gerrymanders that systematically diluted Republican votes. To take an example from last week alone, Barack Obama was featured in an ad campaign endorsing California Governor Gavin Newsom's efforts to double down on California's already severe political gerrymander. President Trump has called on Republican-controlled states across the country to fight fire with fire. This map answers that call. In fact, on Friday, President Trump signaled his support for this plan. Before I discuss the specifics of the changes we propose, I will address one other preliminary matter. To be clear, consistent with our practices in 2003 and 2001, absolutely no racial data was used in the creation of this map. I stood before this committee 2 years ago and talked about our decision not to include racial data in the congressional and legislative plans. Those words are worth repeating today. The predominant use of race to draw districts violates the U.S. Constitution unless doing so serves a compelling government interest. In other words, if the legislature draws districts predominantly based upon race, without a compelling interest, those districts would be declared illegal racial gerrymanders. As for the Voting Rights Act, in order for the predominant use of race to be justified under Section 2, there must be a strong basis and evidence of 3 jingles preconditions. Even assuming the presence of 3 jingles preconditions, the use of race to draw districts must also be supported by the totality of circumstances. This was true then, and it's true now. Past decisions and court records demonstrate that there is no evidence of 3 jingles preconditions in North Carolina. In fact, just weeks ago, a federal court told us in a case concerning Senate districts in the northeastern part of the state that there was no evidence of legally significant racially polarized voting that would require a majority-minority district. In the absence of any evidence of the 3 jingles preconditions, the chairs elected not to use race in the drawing of these proposed districts. Strictly to protect the state from lawsuits alleging illegal racial gerrymandering. To be clear, the chairs do not believe that the use of racial data would have been helpful in reaching any political or other legislative redistricting goals. Any political consideration in line drawing have been informed by political data and not racial data. Now the plan before you.
Senator Heiss, I think you may have said in your comments 2001, 2003, but I think you meant 2021 and 2023. Okay.
Now the plan before you. The new congressional plan makes no changes to 12 of the 14 districts. The only districts that are changed in the new proposal are NC1 and NC3. The following changes in the new congressional plan consist of the following. Greene, Lenoir, Wayne, and Wilson counties are moved from District 1 to District 3. Beaufort, Carteret, Craven, Dare, Hyde, and Pamlico counties are moved from District 3 to District 1. To balance the population of the 2 districts, 4,853 people, according to the 2020 census numbers, out of the 204,576 in Onslow County, that is 2.4%, are moved from District 3 to District 1. The split occurs in Swansboro precinct, leaving much of the town in one district, NC1, as possible, minimizing the municipal split. As I stated previously, the motivation behind this new plan is straightforward. The new congressional map improves Republican political strength in eastern North Carolina. It moves NC District 1 from a district where President Trump earned 51% of the vote in 2024 to 55% of the vote, an increase of 4 points. To balance strength, NC3 loses the same amount NC1 gains, 4 points, moving from a 60% presidential Trump performance in the previous map to a 56 performance in the new map. The end result is a congressional map that should perform to elect 11 Republicans. Not only does the new congressional map better improve Republican political strength in eastern North Carolina, giving Republican candidates a better opportunity to win in NC1, the new map adheres to traditional redistricting principles. Importantly, it is more compact than the current districts in all recognized measures. Here's a comparison of the overall map, NC1 and NC3. The REOC measure of compactness is always between 0 and 1, with 1 being the most compact. The 2023 congressional plan has a maximum REOC score of a 0.59. The 2024 plan improves the maximum REOC score to 0.60. The 23 congressional plan has a mean REOC score of 0.40. The 2024 plan improves the mean REOC score to 0.42. In NC1, the 2023 congressional plan has a REOC score of 0.42. In the 2024 plan, the REOC score for NC1 improves to 0.49. NC3 in the 2023 plan has a REOC score of 0.37. In the 2024 plan, the REOC score for NC3 improves to 0.60. The Posley-Popper measure of compactness also is always between 0 and 1, with 1 being the most compact. The 2023 congressional plan has a max Posley-Popper score of 0.29. The 2024 plan improves the max Posley-Popper score to 0.33. The 2023 congressional plan has a mean Posley-Popper score of 0.24. This 2024 plan improves the mean Posley-Popper score to 0.25. NC District 1 in the 2023 plan has a Posley-Popper score of 0.27. In this plan, the Posley-Popper score for NC1 improves to 0.33. And NC3 in the 2023 congressional plan has a Posley-Popper score of 0.25. In the 2024 plan, the Posley-Popper score for NC3 improves to 0.26. In both of the recognized measures of compactness, REOC and Posley-Popper, both NC1 and NC3, as well as the map as a whole, are more compact in the new plan than the 2023 plan. Be happy to answer any questions you may have, and the map is before.
Senator Heiss. So I think a couple times you said the 2024 plan. Did you mean the 2025 plan?
I mean the current plan that's before.
Okay. So anything you said 2024, you meant this map 2025? Yep. Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify that. All right. Senator Batch.
Thank you, Chair. Just a preliminary matter so that we allow enough time for people who want to speak from the public. Do you know how long you are allowing for this committee to go on today?
We potentially could be here for up to 2 hours.
Okay, thank you. And then I have a series of questions. Do you want me to direct them individually and ask each time? Or,
Do you have an approximate number of questions?
yeah, I have about 4.
So why don't you just be recognized for a series of questions?
That would be fabulous. Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, Senator Heiss. When was the decision made to redraw the maps?
Senator Heiss, you're recognized to answer a series of questions.
The decision has not yet been made to draw these maps. The proposal is before the committee, and the decision will be made by the full House and the Senate this week. That's coming in. We began drawing these districts, I believe it was Monday, October 13th. Is when we began looking at alternatives to propose before the committee, but the General Assembly as a whole is the one that will make decisions as to changing the maps.
Okay. And what communications have the Senate Republicans had with the White House and the President regarding these maps, this map?
I have had no direct communication with the White House or others. There are obviously some tweets out there and others that are in public domain. I think the President has endorsed. As I said, the President has endorsed our proposal for doing it. There has been a broader public discussion, but I have not been connected directly by the President or by the White House staff.
Do you know if any of Senator Berger or leadership staff in the Senate Republican caucus have had communication with the White House?
I cannot speak to other people's communications.
The current congressional map, as you are aware, is being challenged in federal court in NAACP versus Berger. So my question is, why draw a new congressional map now rather than wait on a decision after this summer's trial concluded?
To respond, I think clearly that California has moved ahead in an attempt to move multiple seats towards Democrats, and it is important in that timeline that we respond.
On that matter specifically, it's my understanding that California has sent it to the people of California to determine whether they want new maps. Are you open to sending it to North Carolinians for the decision about whether or not we want new maps before drawing this?
Our process in the state of North Carolina is that legislative districts are passed by the General Assembly. I think California had some process that involved independent redistricting commissions that were out there that they completely bypassed and chose another route to go for doing that. We will remain consistent with how we pass maps in the state of North Carolina.
Was any effort made to remedy or litigate the alleged violations from the 2023 map that were challenged in court?
There are no violations. There is no such ruling.
And what is the committee doing to ensure public participation in drawing these new maps outside of public comment on the portal?
We're open for public comment this morning. We have had the portal open, I think, since Thursday to receive comments from the public.
And will any public hearings be held as they have been in the past prior to this map going to the Senate floor for a vote?
This map is drawn under the same data and proposals that all the other previous maps in this decade were drawn, and so we continue to have all the public comment as to how maps should look and how they should be drawn in North Carolina. We're receiving different additional input regards to this change, but nothing has changed in the data, and we do not intend to schedule additional public hearings outside of the House committees that may take it up and may have public comment available at those as well.
Senator Batch, is that all your questions? All right, Senator Smith.
Thank you. I would like to also be recognized for a series of questions,
Do you know about how many questions you have, Senator?
about 3 or 4.
All right, you're recognized for a series of questions, and Senator Heiss, you're recognized to answer those.
Thank you so much. So in listening to your answers, Senator Heiss, I guess I'm hearing some semantics about the maps because we're looking at one right here in front of us that has been drawn for consideration. So when and where was this map drawn?
We set up software with staff in our committee room that's been the same since we drew before. I think it's the conference room outside of my office at 301 for those softwares. System have, that's where we went in to draw the map. All the same data was available on the map that was available at the previous draws, excluding racial information, and we had multiple Central staff members and others that assisted with that process.
Okay, and can you tell me when this happened?
First we drew was on Monday of last week. I believe that was Monday the 13th, October, and had the room open through Thursday as we put out the proposals and those kind of things, and it was published online in the committee website.
Okay. Next question. Did you collaborate with Democrats with this? Did you invite Democrats to the table to look at those maps? Because these maps affect Democrats and Republicans, right? Constituents.
On Thursday at, I believe, I don't have I'm looking to see if I have a time. We posted, I think it's around 3 p.m., 3:53 p.m., that we sent out and posted the map for all the public to see for this proposal before the committee meeting today.
Okay. So again, just for the public, but I'm saying for the Democratic members who represent, like you do in the Senate, that you invite them to the table to assist with this map that you put out on Monday the 13th for the drawing to happen.
I do not represent Democrats in the Senate. I represent 9 counties in western North Carolina, but no, there were no Democrats involved in the process of the drawing.
Thank you. So you talked about the numbers of constituents that were moved. How did the committee or the map maker, whoever that was, decide which counties to move between CD1 and CD3?
It was a bulk move for changing the directions. We looked at what the political outcome was of all of the counties as well as the VTDs in eastern North Carolina as we were trying to balance the electoral outcomes of the two districts that's coming in and trying to move that margin from basically a 60-50 split closer to a 55 split. That decision was made on that basis.
Okay, and was any outside consulting or law firm paid with public dollars to assist in these maps?
I received no assistance from any outside consulting or other law firms in drawing these maps.
Last question. I was listening to some of the answers that you shared, and you personally did not speak with anyone from the White House.
That is correct.
But your peers, you've seen some tweets that they put something out. I heard someone ask you about the citizens' feedback, and you said we're going to get that today. And so in your opinion, is there a possibility that with citizen feedback that these maps will possibly change, or based on what you receive from your peers, speaking with whoever from the White House, it's going to stay the same regardless?
I have reviewed comments through, I think it was this morning was the cutoff time that's coming in. I am proposing no amendments or changes to the proposal that is before the committee. What changes, we are still open for amendments to come from the members of the committee here. Obviously, with any bill, amendments can come on the floor of the Senate, and whatever will convince the body to make its final decision will be part of that process.
Thank you.
Senator Mayfield, same protocol?
Yes, please.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Before I get to my questions, well, actually, I guess this is a question. Senator Heiss, you just said that you do not represent Democrats. I know a lot of Democrats who live in your district. Are you suggesting that you don't represent them?
I do not represent senators that are Democrats.
Senators. Okay,
That's
sorry.
coming in. That was the specific comment made from Senator Smith, is that I represented the senators, and I do not represent the senators.
I understand. So just want to be clear, because about who we represent in our districts, which in my view is everybody, whether they voted for us or not. I'd also like to make a preliminary point. You continue to reference that North Carolina is acting in response to California. I would like to make the point about who started this dance. And Texas started this dance in response to a request from our president. So we wouldn't be in this dance if it were not for our president having made a request to Texas, Texas having kowtowed and complied with that request, and California acting in response. So let's just do away with the fiction that California has started this process. They have not. Everybody in the country knows that. And it is frankly shocking to me that the intelligent and thoughtful Republicans that I work with continue to perpetuate this fiction. So I hope we can just do away with that. It's a nice message. I get why you're doing it. It's the national message. It is also completely and utterly false, and everyone knows it, including every Republican in this room. All right, now on to my questions. How long will the public portal be open for comment?
For right now, as we don't have votes scheduled, the public portal, I think, is intended to be open until Thursday while we are in session.
Thank you. And I think Senator Batch asked this question. I'm just going to ask it again since this is all happening rapidly, and both for me and for the public. So was there any effort made to remedy the alleged violations in the 2023 map that were challenged in court?
I think it is obvious as part of that lawsuit that we do not find any violations with the 2023 map. No court has ruled that there are violations with the 2020 map. And I adamantly believe we complied with all federal and state laws in drawing the 2023 maps and see nothing that needs to be remedied by this process.
Okay, thank you. And did the committee, and you may have just answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, did the committee that drew this map identify any other issues with the prior congressional map that you attempted to address in this map?
I did not identify any additional things that had to be remedied other than the breakdown of the districts within Eastern North Carolina and how they would produce Republican representatives.
Okay. I think you've also answered this question, but I'm going to ask it again. Were partisan performance data included in the drawing of this map?
Depending on what you mean by partisan performance data, the answer is yes. What we looked at particularly were election outcomes. They're available in your stat pack for multiple races. Obviously, we focused most on, this does have the 2024 data, which we've not had in an opportunity to draw before, so there's a lot looking at the 2024, especially the presidential elections.
Thank you. And were incumbent addresses used in the drawing of this map?
I do believe they are available as a set. I did not put them on maps I was particularly drawing, but I am generally aware where Representative Murphy and others live.
Meaning Representative Davis?
Yes.
Okay. And again, I think you've said this, but can you explain why those political factors were relevant in the drawing of this map?
Redistricting, as the courts have ruled, is a political process that both the state Supreme Court and the North Carolina Supreme Court, and how we express that in data centers is the results of prior elections.
Okay. Just three more questions, Mr. Chair. You have passed out the criteria that you used, and so my question is, I guess, did you use all of these criteria, or which of these criteria did you use in terms of compactness, contiguity, equal population, all of that? And was there a priority order in your use of these criteria?
The criteria are not listed in any type of priority. There are criteria that are part of this plan that are absolutes criteria. Whether a district is contiguous is something we've always considered as absolute. Whether or not it meets equal population is something that the district could not or should not be proposed without doing that. We have been through kind of all of these things like compactness. We've had 2 scores that are out there. We improved on both, but obviously we're not creating districts with a compactness score of 1. That would be impossible. So we look at compactness as how it performs on those 2 scores, but it's not an absolute criteria that if it's not 0.47, no standard was set that it would have to meet. So in that sense, there is a priority to these, but there's nothing in the manner in which they are ordered in our criteria that lists what were priority, but there are innately some of those criteria that I see as absolutes.
So maybe you could just elaborate on that a little bit, and I realize, I think the way you answered it is that they're not listed in priority order here. My question is more, as you thought about drafting this map, can you give us a rundown of what your priority, in thinking about this map?
I think that if I go through them individually, I think this committee has decided for several iterations of redrawing that not using racial data is an absolute and would not consider any map that had used racial data. Equal population is fairly defined, although Senator Blue has made some arguments that you could add variation. But I think we have a 1 person in 6 district variation, that 6 districts are 1 person less than the ideal population number. That's coming in. We have seen no indication that any part of our maps don't apply with federal law. If we believe that, obviously we're not doing things that would violate federal law. We do look at traditional redistricting potential, compactness, contiguity, respect for political subdivisions, up for something other than continuous, not having districts in two places. I think all of those would be subjective to the drawers, and there are things we try to maximize more than absolutes. And I think that covers them. Times we have to divide political subdivisions because of equal population, but we always try to minimize any of those divisions.
And I assume political considerations, both the first one on this and the first one that you mentioned, that was also an absolute.
We did not set every district has to perform at X percentage. We took districts that were a 60% Donald Trump performance and a 51% Donald Trump, and tried to move those to even districts towards 55. I think we got them to 56, 54. So it is something we tried to maximize versus an absolute.
Okay. And would you and the committee that you worked with to draw these maps support the use of these same criteria by an independent commission?
Committee can speak for what the committee would support. I do not support abdicating the authority of the General Assembly to an independent committee.
You mentioned that the Swansboro precinct is split. Is that the only county and municipality that is split on this map?
That is an additional split in this map from the
It's the only
previous-
additional.
From the previous map. I think if you look at in Granville County, that county is split with District 1, but that's been the same split that's been there for multiple years. There may be others of those. That is the additional division that occurred when we shifted the counties.
So just to follow up, the Swansboro is the only additional one.
Correct.
And can you talk about why Swansboro was chosen as opposed to any other place where you needed to pick up? I think it was a little over 4,000 folks.
For those, for when you look at the border between after you've shifted the counties and you have to balance population, when you look at those borders, its political performance was most in line with trying to move the entire districts to the balance we were looking for.
So again, it was political considerations that drove that.
It was.
Okay, thank you. Final question. And I know that you used 2020 census data to draw these maps. We're obviously aware of more recent census data. So do you have a sense of which of these two districts is maybe overpopulated based on that new census data? Yeah, I guess that's my question.
I would argue there is not new census data. The census is collected only once every 10 years, and it is the actual only count of the population that we do. The Census Bureau does put out estimates from that point on, and we have never used estimates, and I would actually believe are not allowed to use estimates for that process. It's only the constitutionally mandated decennial that numbers drive this process.
Agreed, that makes sense. Were you, and thank you for that correction on the census data, were you aware of, or was anyone in the process of drawing this map aware of those population estimates done by the federal government, and were folks in the room drawing these maps aware of that, regardless of whether it influenced the map at all?
I am not aware of how those estimates have impacted what would be District 1 and 3, or how they would reset in 2030. I have not looked at any of that data. That data was not available as part of the data system for this drawing.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Robinson, you have a series of questions as well?
Yes, and a statement.
Do you have you want to say your statement first?
Well, yeah,
Okay, then.
it doesn't matter. I'll get included.
Do you know about how many questions you might have?
About 6.
Okay, so you choose your order then.
Okay, I usually do. Senator Heiss, I know that you have said that no racial data was used, but did you consider using race in compliance with the Voting Rights Act?
No, as I said earlier, from all of our court rulings and others, there is no evidence of the Jingles preconditions that would require the use of race in its totality, and we have made the decision on multiple draws of Congress to not use race, and we continued with that process.
Well, are you aware that in the past, the Supreme Court said that race could be a factor in drawing maps, even though it didn't have to be the primary one?
Assuming that the three Jingles preconditions are met and that the totality of the district requires the use of race, that you could. We do not believe those exist, therefore do not believe that we could or should use race for drawing maps.
Okay, thank you. Now, are you aware or do you consider that cut my map? Did you cut it off?
I don't even know how to do that, Senator. But I might try. Let me see. Oh, there it went. I did it. Turn it back on.
Okay. Did you consider that you've diluted the representation of the black population in terms of having a representative that actually is a person of their choice?
I did not. We have not considered any racial data in the drawing of these maps or any implications as to how particular race groups have voted or selected as a candidate of their choosing.
You do know that there are only 3 black representatives in Congress. Aren't you aware of that?
I am aware it's a low number.
Okay, you made it a low number. The other thing is, did the map maker or whoever drew the maps have access to racial data?
I did not,
Okay.
and I am the one who drew the maps.
You are the, okay. Okay. What partisan, I think Senator Mayfield asked a question about partisan data in terms of drawing the map. Was socioeconomic data included in drawing these maps, or did you consider any socioeconomic data?
As far as I'm aware of socioeconomic data, we didn't have a specific prohibition from that, but it is not part of the data system, is not included in the stat pack reports that you have, depending on how you're defining socioeconomic data, but right, it's not part of the process.
I think you defined it the way the federal government defines it.
So we looked at political data, we look at geographic boundaries, we look at municipal boundaries, all of that information is in there. I think we include campuses, where the campuses are and how those maps are available. Age is part of the breakdown, so, but we don't have votes compelled in age. So that's the data we have. It's all available in the stat pack, everything that's in the system.
So you did include socioeconomic data.
In partial, I'm not aware of any income data that's available in the system.
Okay. Under the current political map, how many of the 14 districts are now competitive based on what you've done?
Wherever you set the standards at competitive, if it's at 56, 57%, does that make it a competitive district? Then the answer is up to 11 districts that are competitive within the system. If you lower that number to 51, then none of the districts would be considered competitive.
Considering that North Carolina is basically a 50-50 state or 40-40, plus independent, how does this 11-3 plan reflect the fact that our state's overall electorate is evenly distributed?
It doesn't, quite simply. That's what coming in. Map drawing is much more of a district and land-based. That's what coming in. By no stretch of the imagination would 50% of the VTDs in the state, it'd be a 50-50 VTD divided state. If you looked at it in that manner, what you find if you look at the entire North Carolina is Democrats have very concentrated distributions into smaller areas of the state. The vast majority of this state would be red or would be a Republican area. As you divide geographies and up, it doesn't necessarily balance to population unless you were to start breaking and cracking all of those highly concentrated areas for the sole purpose of balancing that number. I think every court we've seen have rejected to this point any concept that we set some predetermined goal of balance and that we are required to meet that.
Okay, so that cracking is why fast-growing and diverse populations like in Wake, Guilford, and Mecklenburg have been fractured rather than kept intact.
In general, it means that they are concentrated into more congressional districts, fewer congressional districts. What we have done in the past is that the
I don't
Democrats...
understand that. Tell me, Guilford has 3 congressional districts in it, as opposed to 1 or 2 at most. So tell me.
Yeah, as I've said before on previous maps, nothing's changing in Guilford on this particular map. I do need to emphasize that, but our intent is to keep as many counties whole as possible. And by therefore putting additional divides into larger counties means that more counties are kept whole as in the map in its entirety. And for example, with Mecklenburg, it must be divided. So dividing it twice means the number of counties divided are less.
So my final question, did anyone give you input regarding how races might be impacted regarding this map?
No, we have received no information regarding specifically legally significant racially polarized voting. And so I think the committee in multiple meetings overdrawing the previous maps asked for that on multiple occasions. Nothing was ever submitted. And no, we've not received any information regarding race on this map.
Okay. Well, my final comment is, did you consider, did North Carolina or your Republicans consider that President Trump is actually doing what's unconstitutional?
President Trump has made a request. We are fully within our constitutional rights to redraw the congressional districts of the state of North Carolina. As the Democrats have historically, as far back at least as the 60s, we can find mid-decade draws from the Democrat. This is fully within our constitutional authority, and we are exercising it. The president can make requests and supports and others, but we're making the choice to move forward.
Was this ever done by a president before?
It's not being
Did
done by a
President
president
Obama
now.
do this?
It's not being done by a president now either.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I drew these maps.
Senator Mohammed, do you have a series of questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, a series of questions for the sponsor.
Do you know about how many questions you have?
Probably 3 or 4.
Okay. All right, you're recognized, and Senator Heiss, you're recognized to respond.
Thank you, Senator Daniel. So first of all, Senator Heiss, thank you so much for coming out bluntly and acknowledging the scheme of this body to essentially give President Trump an 11th yes man from this General Assembly and this congressional map. With that being said, my question to you is, did you, as you acknowledge as the map maker, did you reach out to legislative counsel or outside experts and get a written opinion about, does this map actually comply with the United States Constitution and North Carolina Constitution?
I have multiple conversations with our counsel about what we're doing. I've been involved with them in multiple cases up to this point about what are the authorities of North Carolina. Outside of our counsel, we have consulted with no one, independent district people or whatever else in regard to that process.
Thank you, Senator Heiss. Senator Heiss, question for you, and my apologies if I don't know this about your background, but can you tell me, are you from North Carolina? Were you born and raised in this state?
I was.
You're pretty aware of this state and the demographics of this state, I would say?
I was born and raised in western North Carolina.
Okay.
I have general knowledge of the demographics of this state, not specific memorized data that would be utilized for any of those purposes.
But you essentially have basic common knowledge of where people live in this great state.
Sometimes you would agree I have basic common knowledge, sometimes you wouldn't, but I appreciate the compliment.
With that being said, Senator Heiss, and I'm so thankful for your intelligent mind and that you're so familiar with this wonderful state. So that being said, I'm pretty sure that you have common knowledge that there's a heavily black voting block in eastern North Carolina, which would be Congressional District 1.
I would say that I am aware that District 1 has a higher minority population than the state average that's coming in, but to any specifics beyond that, and whether or not I would characterize it as heavy or anyone else would characterize it as heavy for an entire congressional district. Congressional District 1 is not and was not a majority-minority district.
So, Senator Heiss, you've brought up again and again that you haven't taken any racial data in the drawing of this map, correct?
That is correct.
So, my question for you is, just looking at the clear review of this map based on your previous map where you had a 10 Republican map and 4 Democratic map, and you look at the new numbers in this map, it's clear that you've diluted the black voting population in this new map. It's just a fact. So with that being said, I just want to get from you, are you telling me essentially you've provided no safeguards to make sure that we are complying with the Voting Rights Act, specifically Section 2, to ensure that we are not diluting a specific group's voting population? And the reason I say that is that because the people in this room and people outside of this room probably need to understand that the whole reason you have the Voting Rights Act is to make sure that people, not politicians, have a meaningful opportunity to influence the outcome of election, not predetermined as this map does. So I just want to get from you that you're telling me that there are essentially no safeguards with your line of answers that you've previously made to my colleagues and myself.
What I will repeat, as I've said multiple times, there is no evidence submitted to this committee or others that the Jingles criteria were met, and that therefore we were required to draw a district that met the majority-minority standards that's coming in. Therefore, we did not consider it at all in that process. What we did is that we took a map that had performed with one district 60% for the Republican presidential candidate, the other district at 51. We created new districts that were closer to 55 and have no specific information onto what move of minorities or not move of minorities may have changed that even at this point.
My next question, Senator Heiss, is, so in the past, I've been appreciative of this body where we've had public hearings and we've been able to get feedback from constituents in different parts of the state and get their thoughts on the proposed maps that you've set forth, the criteria. Why not follow that process? What's the rush? Why do we have to see this map, I believe, on Friday, and here we are on Monday, without an opportunity to have public hearings, especially in District 1 and District 3, where these people are directly impacted through the representation that they may or may not like or want and would want to share with you their thoughts? Why not have that public hearing?
I would say it was actually on Thursday that those were put out and available, not Friday, and the public comment portal has been open. Comments about the map in general or proposed the maps in general have been made multiple times since we drew the maps in 2022. There is no need to re-engage in that process again. I think we can put out the public comments that have come into this point. I'm not aware of any of them, as I've been through them, that actually dealt with any specific information about what a district should look like or what communities of interest should be preferred or anything around traditional redistricting principles. There's a lot of partisan comments that are in those comments or how bad and evil we are for doing things that are there, but I will leave it at that.
So, Senator Heiss, again, I appreciate the public portal that you've made available to the public, but as leaders, we're supposed to be stewards. So don't you believe that it's incumbent upon us to go out to the people and hear from them before we just make decisions about the future of their life? Because what folks need to understand, and I'm sure you understand, the whole reason we're here, because it's not about these maps. It's because this specific decision is going to impact education. It's going to impact opportunity, jobs, access to healthcare, and a whole host of things. And we can defer on opinions on how we go about certain issues. But I would think as a leader, you would want to go out to the people that are going to be affected by this map and directly hear from them. Do you not?
We are open to hear from them. When we have talked about the maps in general, there were multiple occasions in 2022, 3 occasions 2023 to hear public comments. We had those all over the state. With the exception of the availability of 2024 election data, the data has not changed since any of those. The population data is the same for those areas, which is the basis of drawing the maps. We did not feel that having additional public forums was necessary.
So, Senator Harris, my last comment and question for you. As a proud citizen and taxpayer of this great state, I'm extremely bothered that my hard-earned tax dollars, like I'm sure you do, go to costly litigation instead of going to education and roads and infrastructure and so many different things that we could do for this great state. So, how confident are you that this plan, once again, won't lead you to costly litigation, tax dollars, hard-earned tax dollars that are going to be used for litigation, defending these maps, instead of using our money and being good stewards again and using those hard-earned tax dollars the right way?
All I can say is I am confident that these maps will be upheld by the courts, by the federal courts. I'm assuming that's where someone would try to bring cases by the rulings of the U.S. Supreme Court, by the rulings of the panels we've had on the 4th. I am confident that these meet the laws. I can't determine beyond that, once we're in compliance, why I'm responsible for defending litigation when our maps are perfectly legal. I don't understand. But we will defend these maps, and I am confident that they will be upheld by the courts.
Senator Batch.
Thank you. I just have a few, be recognized for a series of questions. I have about 3 follow-ups.
You're recognized for a series, and Senator Heiss is recognized to respond.
Thank you. Senator Heiss, did you consult with either Congressman Davis or Murphy regarding this map?
I did not and have spoken with neither.
Okay. And who else was involved in helping you draw this map?
And staff support, central staff. There were several members of central staff that were there while we were drawing, as well as pro tem staff, which generally assist us on all the drawings. I was the only member involved in the drawing of the map in the room.
So did you consult with any of your Senate Republican colleagues or House Republican colleagues in drawing the map?
The map was available to them before it was posted to the public, but I did not have those consultations before drawing.
Okay. And there are several times that you said "we" throughout your remarks. Who is the "we" when you speak of this? Is this the general Republican caucus, et cetera?
When things like what you have here for the criteria and others, I would be discussing with the "we" as the chairs. When I'm discussing about actual drawing in the room, it is myself who directs the drawing, as well as central staff that implements it, and legal counsel and others that advises me that are part of our staff.
And you made a comment before that you're within your constitutional right to draw maps, even if it's mid-decade. But isn't it true that this is the first time mid-decade that congressional maps have been drawn without a mandate from a court?
I believe the last time it occurred without a mandate from the court was in the 60s. That's actually an article I read. The Democrats redrew mid-district in the 1960s. I believe that was on WRAL. That's as far as I could verify that concept. But obviously redone them many times. For example, in 22, there was, after the 2022 maps, there was no court order to redraw them, but the maps the court had drawn expired after 2 years. When they had put in temporary interim maps, there was no court order requiring us to redraw, and we obviously did redraw those maps. So there may be some other iterations for that if you go back in history, but I'm sure someone in research or the staff could give us better information, but I can't really give you a lot before I was born.
And just a comment, I think that there is a lot of back and forth that we have in this building of Democrats used to do it this way, Democrats used to do it this way. What I would say is it's incumbent upon all of us to learn from history and to do the right thing. Historically speaking, slavery was legal, right? Smoking inside buildings was legal. We have changed the laws because we have realized that the actions in the past have been very detrimental to our democracy. And so when we want to go ahead and say what's happened in history, all of us can come up with examples in history of which we were wrong and that we have tried to correct those harms. I think this is now a time in history where we will look back when this map is passed, because we cannot stop it, and find that this was absolutely against every single democratic principle that this country was founded on.
Senator Mayfield.
Sorry, one follow-up question. Was the public notified that the map drawing room was open, and would the public have been allowed into that room to watch this process?
No, the drafting process of any bill has never been a public. We have in the past opened up, I believe it was this room where we did drawing and had it broadcast and others and allowed viewers in the back of the room. We did not do that in the previous iterations of the map and have not done it with these maps here.
Senator Robinson.
Just a couple of questions, Mr. Chair. When did, Senator Heiss, when did the Republican caucus review this map?
The map was sent out publicly last Thursday. That's when they would all have received it as well. That's what coming in. Without getting into caucus business, we have not sat down as a group and reviewed the map.
Did they have any previous notice of it?
Not aware of any that, whether the map was drawn between Monday and Thursday, there was nothing. They could have between that drawing, because decisions weren't made as to what map was going on, but once they were, they went out to the caucus, they went out to the House, they went out to the public in general in a matter of hours of each other.
Okay.
Any other questions from the committee or comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll move to the public comment period. Given the amount of speakers we have and the amount of time we have remaining, I think we'll limit speakers' comments to 1 minute. So we'll try to get to every member of the public that wishes to speak. So I'm going to ask 2 at a time to come up, just so we'll kind of get through the queue faster. So let's start with Mark Swallow and Raina Walters Morgan. If you'll identify yourself, who you're with, and then address the committee, please.
Good morning. My name is Mark Swallow with Democracy Out Loud. First, I'd like to remind the senators that you are elected to serve the citizens of North Carolina, not Donald J. Trump. And what we really need you to do is pass a budget. Last year, 51% of all the votes went to Democrats. 48% went to Republicans. Yet the senators have a supermajority, Republicans have a supermajority in the Senate, and 1 seat shy of a supermajority in the House. You also have 10 out of 14 elected officials in Congress. How did this happen? Surgical gerrymandering. Now you're saying this is all because of California action. As we heard earlier, California hasn't redistricted a thing. What they've done is they've responded to Texas, which started this fiasco for our country, and they put an initiative on the ballot to ask Californians if they should be redistricted. You should do the same. But I doubt that you will, because you know that North Carolinians would never approve this scheme. So you're liars and cheats. That's what this boils down to, liars and cheats. You can prove me wrong. You can turn this aside and deny this bill passage.
Raina Walters Morgan. Next would be Karen Ziegler.
Hello, my name is Raina Walters Morgan. I currently serve as the Vice Chair for Civic Engagement and Voter Participation with the Democratic National Committee, but most importantly, I am a North Carolina resident. We need to tell the truth that this started when President Trump asked the governor of Texas to find seats. Republicans in Texas indicated they hadn't used race in their maps previously, but changed their story, lied under oath when they were asked to find these extra seats. And also for California context, this referendum is for voters to decide whether to give legislators the ability to redraw those maps. They are not drawing them on their own. Voters are very much involved in the process in California, unlike what's happened here in North Carolina. This map in North Carolina puts Washington, D.C. over the people of North Carolina. There was a study recently that found, a survey recently that found that 84% of North Carolinians do not think it's acceptable for politicians to draw districts to give their party more power. We need to do more to protect the voters of North Carolina. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next would be Karen Ziegler, and then next would then be Angela Floyd.
Karen Ziegler, Democracy Out Loud. You all took an oath, all of you legislators, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and you swore true allegiance to the state of North Carolina. You are doing this for a president who is shredding the Constitution and the rule of law every single day. A president who put on an AI-generated image of himself flying over the country, wearing a crown, dropping excrement on the United States, on people in the United States. And that is what he is doing every single day. Immigrants and United States citizens are being brutally assaulted by ICE. The troops that he is sending in are tear gassing families, children, peaceful protesters. That is what is happening here. And if you pass this, your legacy will be shredding the Constitution, destroying democracy, the last shred of democracy that is allowed in North Carolina. We should have 7 Republicans and 7 Democrats in the Congress representing us. And we're letting Donald Trump decide who represents the people of North Carolina. And that's why we're going to have 307,000 people in North Carolina lose Medicaid and 375,000 people in North Carolina lose food aid.
Next is Angela Floyd, and then Kathy Martin.
My name is Angela Floyd, and I'm a North Carolina citizen. As a North Carolina voter, I ask that you refrain from introducing any mid-decade redistricting in 2025. That would further distort North Carolina's federal voting maps and erode North Carolina's power to elect candidates of their choice. A September 2025 survey of North Carolina voters conducted by a Republican polling firm found that 84% of North Carolinians oppose gerrymandering under any circumstances, including 78% Republicans. Just because you think you can redraw North Carolina's congressional voting maps to manipulate our upcoming 2026 election does not mean you should. Please represent all North Carolinians and refrain from further gerrymandering our voting maps. Thank you.
Kathy Martin will be next, followed by Hannah Gibbs.
My name is Kathy Martin, and obviously I'm here to talk against redistricting effort. First of all, the people of North Carolina elected you to serve North Carolina. We don't have a budget. Where's our budget? When are you going to do your job for North Carolina? Instead, you're talking about, on the behest of a would-be dictator, to rig our election maps yet again. I've already been the victim of redistricting twice. At least one time, the redistricting came in after I voted. Therefore, my vote was negated. As a citizen, as a voting citizen of North Carolina, I am angry. And you're going to do it again? I don't think so. Show some courage, stand up to the tyrant, vote no.
Let's see, thank you. Next is Hannah Gibbs. And just to remind the speakers that tell us who you're with before you speak.
Hi, I'm Hannah Gibbs, and I'm here as a citizen of North Carolina. I just want to say that North Carolina already has a sordid history of gerrymandering. This bill continues that history and takes away people's ability to peacefully express their political will. I implore the legislature to do better by their citizens and give us the opportunity to practice democracy peacefully via the ballot. Voting in favor of gerrymandering is a vote against citizens, against North Carolina, and against a peaceful democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, so I forgot to tell the next speaker is, I think, Khalil DeThomas. And then after that would be Caitlin Metzger, I think.
My friend sitting next to me, her name was before mine on the list. Should I, Elena Sabero? Should I wait for her to speak?
No, I'm not necessarily going in order of signing.
Okay. I just didn't want to intrude. My name is Khalil D. Thomas. I'm with Democracy Out Loud. And I want to ask, have public comments been considered when you're looking at this map? Are you going to consider the public comments that were released such a short time ago? I know I commented. Bill's sponsor said the majority of the landmass in North Carolina contains red voters, and Dems are concentrated in small areas. And I want to point out that if this were true, all of these gerrymandered maps, all of these districts would be the same size. They're not. You see little tiny districts in Wake and Mecklenburg. I want to say it's disingenuous to claim that race was not considered when computer crunching multitudes of data can easily manipulate data to address race without race being a unique category. Let's say the quiet part out loud. This is the Southern agenda. History will remember these votes. This is a racist map. Do Republicans believe that you all will continue to be electable when you don't listen to constituents? Be brave.
Next will be Caitlin Metzger and then Robert Uhl.
Good morning. I'm Caitlin Metzger of You Can Vote, and we are a nonpartisan organization that works year-round to make sure that voters know their rights. I'm here today to speak out against this process for a new congressional map. Generally, redistricting only is to happen in North Carolina for two reasons: a new census or a court order. Neither of those things is true today, and so I want to make sure that everyone understands that what we're doing is not normal, and this is not a normal activity for us to be doing in 2025. I also want to use the rest of my time to talk about what we're actually talking about, which is people, right? We're talking about congressional representation, or the lack thereof. We're talking about people who need access to services, families who need access to clean air, clean water, good nutrition, good schools. What we're talking about is North Carolinians and people who want to rely on their representatives. 2025 is an election year. We're talking about municipal government. And in my role at You Can Vote, we talk to students about what we're voting for. 2025 is when we vote for mayor and city council. This process should not be happening right now. Thank you.
Robert Uhl. Then next would be Greg Flynn.
Good morning. My name is Robert Uhl. I am from Raleigh and a resident of Wake County. I stand before you today vehemently against this redistricting plan. And based on what I've heard today, this scheme seems to have been put together by one elected official and some staff members without any consultation from any of his colleagues in the House or the Senate. That doesn't sound very democratic to me. Redistricting cheats the people of North Carolina out of anything that resembles fair representation. The plan would further erode North Carolinians' power to elect candidates of their choice. It flagrantly violates core principles of accountability and throws out the constitutional promise of equal representation. And it is another tool that is being applied to accomplish voter suppression, as it would help to keep the powerful in power at the expense of those with the least power. It makes more sense to me for the legislature to do what the people elected it to do. and that is to conduct business for the people and not conduct activities as ordered by a convicted felon. This partisan gerrymandering should be illegal, and it cheats the people, and I stand firmly against it. Thank you.
Next is Greg Flynn, and then Cheryl Tung.
Greg Flynn, citizen, voter. This weekend, the president circulated a video of himself dropping excrement on American people. This is the God you worship, the dictator you appease, the king you would pander to. While thousands of North Carolina citizens are on track to lose health insurance, while civil rights guaranteed by the Constitution are now daily trampled on. No one is safe from his retributions, not even you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. A republic, if you can keep it, not to a felonious monarch in a gilded house on Pennsylvania Avenue. Are you monarchists? Are you not Republicans? Absolute power is corroding the republic. Just because you can legally eat everything at a buffet doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Next is Cheryl Tung, followed by Ron Osborne.
Good afternoon, members of the Senate Elections Committee. My name is Cheryl Tung, and I am speaking today on behalf of the League of Women Voters of North Carolina. 84% of North Carolinians across political parties say it's unacceptable for politicians to draw districts to help their own side win more seats. Yet here we are, again, facing another partisan redraw. The League of Women Voters has long opposed mid-decade redistricting unless required by court order because it undermines stability, it confuses the voters, and erodes trust in our elections. Voters deserve consistency and fairness, not political manipulation. Instead of passing a budget or meeting the state's constitutional duty to provide every child with a sound basic education, this legislature has focused on protecting power. That is not serving constituents, it's serving a party. I urge you to restore transparency, fairness, integrity to redistricting and put voters, not politicians, first. North Carolinians deserve a democracy worthy of their trust. Thank you.
Ron Osborne, followed next will be Elena Severio.
My name is Ron Osborne. I'm from Alamance County. I'm a 13th generation North Carolinian. I came from my farm this morning, fed the animals, and was hoping to work on my barn, but it was more important to be here. And frankly, the manure is deeper in here than in my barnyard. The non-answers, the half-truths, and outright lies about the intent of this bill is disgusting. You can do what you want to do, but it's the same effect as poll taxes, grandfather laws, and literacy tests on the population. We're a 50-50 state, and it hurts Republicans too because it takes away the competitiveness, and nobody has a real choice in voting. In 2022, the data showed that 30% of North Carolinians didn't have a choice because it was such a skewed electorate. We can be 50-50 where everybody has a choice and we have moderate representatives and not what we have today. Thank you.
Elena Severio, and then Mark Laverin.
My name's Elena Severio. I am with Democracy Out Loud. I will leave the statistics to others, and I will speak from my heart, which is breaking today. I am dressed in black to match my mourning and to replicate the hearts of the legislators that decided to disenfranchise the black voters of District 1 with this proposed racist map, which is being submitted outside of the established norm timing and only undermines the people's belief in free and fair impartial elections. As per your description, Senator Heiss, the current resident of the White House approves of these changes. So it is clear and unambiguous that this map is bending the knee to an authoritarian leader who is a convicted felon, and you, sir, are on the wrong side of history. I can never fully understand the impact of what it is like being a black person in America. However, I do know I made a commitment to use my white privilege to stand in the gap and stop any harm I am able to, as I am doing here today. It is a clear manipulation of this voting district in the middle of what you agreed is a heavily populated black vote area. So I clearly call these changes as purely racial disenfranchisement, depriving people who have historically been stepped on by white domination of their chance to be heard. You are rigging the maps to hurt black people. It is shameful, undemocratic, and immoral. And there are no other words to describe it. Shame on you and your lack of humanity.
Next will be Mark Laverin and then Libby Johnson.
My name is Reverend Mark Laverin. I'm the senior pastor of the First Calvary Baptist Church in Durham. As a man of the cloth, I have not come to ask you to do anything, for you all have shown that you are not going to listen to the people of North Carolina. So today I've come to issue a warning. Woe unto you who do evil and call evil good. Woe unto you who enrich the wealthy at the expense of the poor. Woe unto you who use the name of Jesus and hate justice. For the prophet Micah told us what the Lord requires of us, and that is to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. And I've come merely as a person of the cloth to ask you to remember that you will not have to stand before Trump, but you will have to stand before a greater throne. And I pray, and what tragedy that would be, rather, to gain Trump's approval and lose your own soul. May God bless you, and may God have mercy on your souls. Whatever time I have, I yield it for a moment of silence for a death of democracy in the state of North Carolina.
Next is Libby Johnson, followed by Joseph Lazar.
I'm Libby Johnson, Democracy Out Loud representative. Today is about a tale of two sides that begs the question, which side are you on? On one side, there are those that seek to deny the power to whole collections of people across North Carolina the right to determine their future. I stand on the side of justice and love that strengthens the right of being representative and shaping futures. We, the people here and across North Carolina, are not blind to what's happening here. The weaponizing of redistricting. Redistricting has always been about keeping the powerful in power at the expense of those with the least power, the people of color, the marginalized. This is about racism. Stop messing with our maps. Stop creating racist maps. Let the people decide.
Joseph Lazar, followed by Amy Van Wyck.
Hello, Joseph Lazar. I'm not here with any organization. I am well aware that there is probably nothing that I can say or that anyone else here can say to change your minds and to convince you not to pass these maps. But let me remind you that we still don't have a budget. Our teachers and law enforcement are still not getting paid what they're supposed to. Yet you find time to redraw these maps to steal more seats from us again. How can you feel so shameless in doing this? You may feel invincible, but let me tell you something. We are coming for you. When Democrats held a majority on the North Carolina Supreme Court, partisan gerrymandering was ruled illegal. and we're going to re-elect Anita Earls to the Supreme Court in 2026, and in 2028, we're going to kick your partisan hacks off of the Supreme Court, including Phil Berger's son. And when we do, you all are going to be out on your ass because you know that you can't win when you play fair. You wouldn't be cheating if you could win if you played fair. So heed this warning. When we're back in power, we're going to remember how you treated us.
Amy Van Wyk, followed by Matt Bullard.
Amy Van Wyk, and I'm a public resident of North Carolina and a voter of Cumberland County. I am going to have a very simple message and a very short one. It's on our state seal. It's esse quam videre, to be rather than to seem. Are we a democracy? Are we a democratic representative? Or are we not? Those are the only two questions you have to ask yourself. If you vote for this map, we are not. Are you representing the people or one in power? Which are you going to choose, the many or the one?
Matt Bullard, followed by Dr. Tanisha Dukes.
I'm Matt Bullard, a resident of Raleigh, born and raised in this state. My parents were, their parents were, and so on. I have enjoyed feeling rise in me the admiration for my fellow citizens who have spoke earlier, and I recognize in light of their comments the gross understatement in about what I'm about to say. Nevertheless, Senator Robinson has already said, and others of the citizens have acknowledged, that this is a 50-50 state. The action you consider now is for the purpose of wrenching our congressional delegation around to 80-20. It is for the purpose of stripping effectively voting rights from citizens. Compliance with the law is not the same thing as being right. What you are doing is not right. It is not for the people of North Carolina. It is fealty to a wannabe dictator president. I ask you to reject the action that you're considering today. Thank you.
Dr. Tanisha Dukes, and then next would be Cynthia Morrison.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Tanisha Dukes from Guilford County, and although I would love to stand before you today as an educator to talk about the budget or the lack thereof one, I am here discussing the state of our democracy. What you are proposing is unethical and an assault on the fair representation we deserve in our state. It is impossible to talk redistricting without the mention of race and socioeconomic demographics. You're not protecting people, you're protecting power. Let's call it what it is, and calculated effort to silence communities and erase influence, which is voter suppression. This map strips the fair representation of the Black and brown communities, not for fairness, but for control. We know that your oath is forgotten when power becomes the prize. We will remember that you sold us out. Silence is not neutrality, it's complicity, and we refuse to be complicit. Thank you.
Cynthia Morrison, and then next would be Rebecca Warren.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Morrison. I'm a citizen of North Carolina. I've lived here for 56 years. I'm a taxpayer, a voter, a mother, and a grandmother. I'm also the proud mother of a 2016 United States Air Force Academy graduate who proudly served this nation. He defended our constitutional freedoms that allow every citizen to have a voice in their government. He didn't serve to protect a party. He served to protect the principles of our Constitution. He honorably separated last year to pursue his next mission and service in a different way. He planned to run for public office and hoped to make a positive impact. I'm beyond devastated to share that he tragically passed away from a very rare and extremely aggressive bile duct cancer in July after a short but valiant battle. A week before he left us, he asked me and our family to continue with his mission since he would not be able to. So today, I stand before you honoring my son and the oath he took and the promise I made to him. Drawing voting maps behind closed doors undermines the rights of all North Carolinians. A bipartisan poll shows overwhelmingly that 87% of Democrats 78% of Republicans in North Carolina oppose gerrymandering. That means the people have already spoken. This is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's a moral issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a North Carolina issue. Fair maps are the foundations of fair elections. Gerrymandering is unfair. I urge you to honor your oath, protect transparency, and put the people first with fair and equal representation. Thank you.
Rebecca Warren, followed by Liz Barber.
Hi, thank you. I'm Rebecca Warren, born in Raleigh, voter from Eastern North Carolina, from Wilson, North Carolina. Thank you to everyone and the senators here of sound mind who are asking questions and are speaking up against this crazy, unconstitutional request to redistrict North Carolina. Senator Hines is racist, and his purpose is clear: to silence our voices. Redistricting is taking away the voices of hardworking minorities for the racist Republican agenda. And I'm here asking you to stop giving Republicans seats that mathematically do not represent the people. Senator Hines, you are a racist. You are harming the hardworking people of North Carolina. Senator Hines, I dare you to actually request the public to vote on your ridiculous and stupid attempt to silence our voices. We will not be silenced. Thank you.
Next is Liz Barber, and then it would be Gay Williams.
Good morning, Liz Barber, ACLU of North Carolina. I'm going to be very short because I think this is really straightforward. Voting is the cornerstone of our democracy. And when the party in power tries to take all of the power of the voters, give all of the power to the people who agree with them, and take it away from the people who disagree with them, they erode that. Thank you.
Gay Williams is next, followed by Ann Hemingway Favor.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Gay Williams. I am president of the League of Women Voters of Wake County and redistricting lead for the League of Women Voters of North Carolina. I am here to express our deep concern for your decision to reprioritize the work of the General Assembly to focus on achieving political gains rather than serving the many needs of our state. I love North Carolina. My family roots run deep here. The people of our state have many challenges. Among them, nearly 1 million North Carolinians, about 10% of our population, are about to receive notices that their health care costs are increasing by staggering amounts in some cases. They will soon have a very short window to make their choices for health insurance or decide to go without. You could be focused on that, dealing with that reality. Instead, we are here yet again to observe the accumulation of power being prioritized over service to the people. Please reconsider the needs of the people within our state instead of serving the needs of those outside of it.
Ann Hemingway Favor, followed by Shannon Halber.
It's Ann Hemingway Foyer.
Okay.
And I'm with Democracy Out Loud, as well as I'm a raging granny. I'm a grandmother, and I've only lived in North Carolina a short while. But let me assure you that I really am opposed to people acting like other people don't count. I'm not opposed to Republicans in general. I'm not opposed to Democrats or independents. I am simply opposed to the filthy rich, excuse my French, but those folks stepping on the rest of us. And that happens a lot. I've noticed recently, anyway. And I feel that North Carolina supporting this felon in the White House in doing that and in sending out ICE troops to pull parents away from their children and zip tie people and the craziness that's going on. I'm opposed to all that. Thank you.
Shannon Halber, followed by Cindy Finan.
Hi, my name is Shannon Halber. I'm a resident of Clayton, North Carolina, and a United States Air Force veteran. I was born an American citizen, but I'm a North Carolina resident by choice. Really? 11 Republican seats out of 14? Is that what democracy looks like to you? That is not what democracy looks like to me. And I've been trying to understand why this honorable legislative body wants to take away the voice from North Carolinians. The only reason that I can think of that makes sense to me is that you're afraid. Because make no mistake, this bullying legislation comes from fear. First, you fear the people of North Carolina. And I don't know why. I love the people of North Carolina. In fact, I just met up with 900 of my besties in Clayton Town Green on Saturday. Second, you are afraid of President Trump. Afraid of the U.S. president just when we need you to be brave. I ask you now to please don't do this to our people. You have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Cindy Finan, and then Eric Willoughby.
I'm Cindy Finan, and I'm here to give comment from the North Carolina Red, Wine, and Blue. We are a community of nearly 40,000 women in all 100 counties here in North Carolina. We are a nonpartisan grassroots organization with members from both parties and many unaffiliated voters. We know that you are redrawing maps to protect President Trump's agenda, and it is an offense to the women in our network. No elected official should be manipulating political maps to draw safe seats for themselves or their party. Voters in North Carolina should choose their representatives in Congress. You should not be choosing your voters. The women in our community are watching, and we will be mobilizing our friends, family, and acquaintances to go to the polls to help vote out any candidate who continues to try to take away our rights and disenfranchise voters. We are in all 100 counties, and we will remember what you do today and the rest of the week. Thank you.
Eric Willoughby, and then it would be Todd Belkos.
My name is Eric Willoughby. I'm 19 years old and a sophomore at UNC Charlotte. Today is a dark day for North Carolina. People who dare to call themselves public servants are showing us who they really serve. Not the people, but Donald Trump. Republicans here in Raleigh are preparing to pass a new congressional map that is designed to hand Donald Trump another MAGA congressional district. And they are doing this while North Carolina has not had a state budget for 100 days. Rather than fully funding Medicaid, rather than raising teacher pay or doing their jobs, they are wasting precious time and taxpayer dollars, bending the knee to Donald Trump and ripping away the voice of the voters. It is shameful. It is pathetic. You are shameful. You are pathetic. I call on anyone listening to this right now. Please register to vote. Get involved and vote these clowns out of office.
Todd Belkos, followed by Alexander LaFond.
Todd Belcour, R.E., Social Change.
Sorry.
It's no worries, no worries. It's my penmanship, not your reading. It's a privilege to be here, but it's an awful circumstance to be here. Democracy is to be ruling by the people, for the people. And there's nothing based in this closed-door legislation where no one had a chance to buy in. There's nothing about the process which, no matter what people says today, that will change anything you do or don't do. There's nothing about the process where the people impacted directly can speak up, and you still won't change an aspect of this that gives even a hint towards what democracy is supposed to be like. Democracy is supposed to be ruled by the people, but if you're ignoring the people at every stage in this process, if you're ignoring the people at every stage, even after this process, to impact the pain, that is not democracy. That is what authoritarianism looks like. And that is why we are here, not because we want to be here on a Monday, not because we don't have other things to do. It's because we are nervous, we are worried, we're concerned about the soul of this country, the soul of this democracy, and all the things that are underpinned in this bill. So please, please take a moment to consider what public comment means. The public says they don't want this. The 84% of people who vote against this in general say they don't want this. And the people who are here say they don't want this. And if you want to invite public comment, actually make sure it matters and do something differently based on what that comment represents. Thank you.
Alexander LaFond, and then Kyle Brazil.
Hello and good morning. My name is Alexander LaFont. I'm a constituent in House District 38 and Senate District 15. Let me start off by saying I don't mean any disrespect to my fellow Americans. However, I do not care what's happening in Texas, and I do not care what's happening in California. What I care about is what's happening here in North Carolina and how our state legislators and senators are representing the people of North Carolina. It's been 112 days since North Carolina was supposed to have a budget. And instead of coming here and talking about that, we are here speaking out against a redistricting which will negatively impact every single voter in North Carolina. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican. The attack by the federal government on the states by cutting funding, Western North Carolina still has funding withheld to rebuild from Hurricane Helene. Where is the representation for Western North Carolina? Instead, we're here talking about redistricting and putting party over country. Instead of coming here and speaking to the General Assembly about how the cost of everyday essentials and the cost of housing continues to rise and asking what your plan is to subsidize this, we're here to decry the attempt by one party to hold control of power rather than govern and represent the voice of their constituents. Shame on Republicans, and it's a stain on this establishment.
Kyle Brazil, is Kyle Brazil here? All right. That concludes our public speaking segment of the committee hearing. Are there any other comments from the members of the committee? Senator Batch.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to correct one thing, and I don't believe Senator Heiss was quoting it inaccurately because it's what WRAL said. However, the article that he referenced with regards to Democrats in the 1960s redrawing outside of a court order is actually not accurate. Interestingly enough, the New York Times article that's been archived was on July 4th of 1967, interestingly, about our independence. And what that article said is that they ordered the General Assembly to rebalance population among districts because districts under that plan had a population variance of 173%, which the court said was too much. However, the court agreed to let the plan stand for the 1966 elections if the General Assembly would revamp the lines again by July 1st of 1967. And they also go on to say that tonight's actions came 2 days after the deadline, but legislative leaders said that they believe the court would approve their new districts that only varied 4% per population. And so I just want to make a note that, again, not to Senator Heiss, but correcting the record that the WRAL article was incorrect and that it was actually court-ordered for those changes in the 1960s.
Thank you. Senator Robinson.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to make a comment. You know, it is disingenuous to invite the people of North Carolina to their house in the state and not to consider what they have to say. It is very disingenuous to receive public comment, 200 pages, I believe, and not even consider what the citizens have to say. You know, I am appalled that we who represent the citizens of this state don't represent them. We really don't represent them.
Any other comments from the committee? Seeing none, is there a motion from the committee members? Senator Todd Johnson moves for adoption of the committee will stand at ease for a moment until order is restored. Johnson, which is a favorable report to Senate Bill 249, unfavorable to the original bill. There's no referral to an additional committee, so all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. No. The ayes have it, and the bill passes out of committee, and thank you very much today for your work, committee.